That WebAssign question, there's a couple of numbers in here that are super easy, a couple of numbers that are like medium, and then some pretty tough ones. So if we take a look at, say, that list of numbers we're supposed to put on the number line, wouldn't it be fair to say that the easiest ones would be 2 and -3?
Yes.
And I think you'll find on the WebAssign those are probably the easiest ones to put as well. So we're just going to put a dot right there at 2 and another one at -3. And we've graphed those first two. So I'll just put little check marks through those. I've graphed those. What would you guys say would be the next easiest one to graph? -4.53. So let's talk about this one. Wouldn't it be fair to say that -4.53 is between -4 and -5?
Yeah.
But let's be really careful about, bless you, where we put that. If I were to put it right here, if I were to put it right there, isn't that technically between -4 and -5?
Yeah.
But shouldn't it be a little closer to the middle?
Yeah.
So we want to be as good, like as close as we possibly can, realizing we're not going to be perfect, but we do want to make the effort to be as close as possible. So instead of that, maybe I do, that look a little better?
Yeah.
Still probably not perfect, but it's better. Want to do the best you can to be as accurate as possible. So really pay close attention to the details there. So there's -4.53. Which one would you think would be easiest next? What do you think, Rosie?
3/2.
3/2. We could convert that over to a decimal. Is that what you were thinking? What is that?
1.5, I think.
1.5. Of course, that's between 1 and 2. So again, I could do this carelessly or I could do it carefully. So 1.5, I could put it here. That's between 1 and 2. But you see how I'm a little too close to 1? I really need to be paying a little more attention. I need to be probably right in the middle as best I can. So that looks better to me. That look better to you? So when you're doing your WebAssign, it might seem frustrating at first, but if you can get it lined up as close as possible, I've definitely seen evidence that it will give you credit. So just be real careful. And then finally, square root of 5. You doing okay? Okay. So square root of 5. This one is probably the toughest one. Can anybody tell me which two integers square root of 5 is between?
2 and 3.
It's between 2 and 3. How'd you come up with that, Sarah?
Because like half of 4 is 2, and then half of 6 is 3, and then 5 is right in the middle.
Okay, so you are really close. But square roots really aren't about half, though, are they?
Never mind, no.
You were close, though. Like, you were really close. 2 and 3, I totally agree with. I think you're right about that. But the y, I think we can be a little bit better with the y. Like, y. Anybody have any ideas? What do you think, Johan? Or Hano?
3 times 2 equals 4, and 3 times 3 equals 6.
3 times 3 equals
9.
9.
Sorry.
And 5 is between those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So between 2 and 3. Now, do you think it'd be closer to the 2 or closer to the 3? Because it's 5 closer to 4 than it is to 9? So I would put that, it's going to be, actually I'll use a different color for this, be a little closer to the 2, so maybe this red point. I probably could do a little better than that, maybe the red point right there. It'd be pretty close to the 2. So just the lesson to be learned there is just be as precise as you can, and if you are relatively close, then WebAssign will give it to you. But that's a number line. I think you've all seen that. Why don't you guys try numbers 8 and 9 on your own? What? We did, didn't we? I mixed up between my two classes. I think I went 2 different directions in the classes. So, okay, so let's see here. Let me just remind myself. -2 is greater than -3, and 3/8 is less than 11/24. We had that? Okay, fantastic. All right, then moving on. Let's see here. I think do we have just one more? 2 more. Okay. Good. This is working out great. We'll get some work at the board for sure. Absolute value. I just want to let you know absolute value has a couple of different definitions. This is a good one. This one works for now. The distance from 0 on the number line. Let's think about some other aspects of absolute values. If you do the absolute value of any number, no matter what that number is, with one exception, the answer will always be what? Positive. What's the one exception to that rule? 0. The absolute value of 0 is neither positive nor negative because it's 0. So when you look at a question like number 10, it says evaluate the absolute value of 7/3. What do you think that would be? It's positive 7/3. Because you're basically asking yourself, how far is 7/3 from 0 on the number line? Well, it's 7/3 away, isn't it? Okay. But what about the other one? How far is -8 from 0? It's 8 away. And so the absolute value of -8 is 8. Okay, so the distance from 0 on the number line distances are always positive. Like if I asked you how far you have to drive to get to school and you said, oh, about -4 miles. It sounds a little silly, doesn't it? It's not like you came here in reverse. That's not really what that would mean. Distance is always going to be a positive number. Okay. You guys hanging in there all right? Yes. Okay. So let's do a little bit of work at the board again. And this will be a little bit of review. Let's see here. As far as what's next, we've got those properties. Let me just think a second about what I want to do with those. Interested to see what you come up with. 5, 6, and 7, please. For each statement, write positive, negative, or unknown. All right, Kyle, I don't know if you talked too much with your guys over there at your table. What did you guys come up with, or what did you come up with for number 5?
We got negative.
So negative plus a negative equals a negative. So how do the rest of you feel about that? Think it's right?
Yep, that's right.
So doesn't that essentially mean start at 0 and then go left and then go left? So it really does have to be a negative. So yes, I agree with you, Kyle and others perhaps. Nice work. Okay, so number 6 was positive plus negative. Morgan, what do you think about that one?
Unknown.
You think that's unknown. Why do you say unknown?
You don't know numbers. You don't know which number is bigger.
That's exactly right. It depends on which number is bigger because it's essentially saying go right then left. It doesn't really come down to how far right and how far left. And so since we don't know which one has the bigger absolute value, we really have to say unknown right there. And then finally we get to number 7. Shout it out. Everybody, what do you think it is? Positive. Positive. Yeah, positive is right. Essentially that's saying go right and then go right. So you got to be on the right side of 0 at that point. Okay, so any questions there? I really, I got to be honest with you. I feel like if you can answer 5, 6, and 7, you can do just about any of the examples that we've done so far, right? Going right, right, or right, left, or left, right, or whatever. If you understand that concept, you have the basic building blocks to be successful with those. Any questions at all? Okay, so you know what? I know this was in the video. That perhaps this would be worth going over one more time to help you. Let's go over the properties of addition. If you don't already have these in the notes, get them in there. If you do, that's great. Let's go over it one more time from the video. Properties of addition from the video. Do you remember what's the key part of that first word? Commute. And what does commute mean? It doesn't mean community. It means changing location. You go from here to there, like you commute to school. I really doubt that any of you actually live in the school, right? Well, it's not a bad place. I mean, you got good food and everything. You can find a comfortable bed, you'd be in good shape, right? We got showers and all kinds.
You could live here.
You could.
Benches and massage.
But even then, wouldn't you have to commute to our room, though? You'd have to commute places still, right? So the commutative property is A plus B equals B plus A. So in other words, within addition, within addition, the order simply doesn't matter. 2 plus 9 and 9 plus 2 are the exact same thing. That means that addition is commutative. Subtraction is not. Division is not. But addition is. Associative property, this is who you associate with. Hopefully here at Valor you can find good people to associate with, and maybe you even have a couple different groups of friends. That's kind of what this is about. So A plus B could be grouped together. They could associate together. Or the B and the C could be associated together. Looks like either way B is going to have a friend, right? In the first case C doesn't, in the second case A doesn't, but it's okay to group like that. Bless you. That's called the associative property of addition. There you go. It has to do with parentheses. All right, identity property of addition. This is essentially what gives a number its identity in regard to addition. Anybody remember what the identity element is for addition? It's 0, because any number plus 0 is itself. Any number plus 0 is itself. And then how do we undo addition? Because that's really what an inverse is getting at. It's how you undo things. What do you do?
Negative.
Yeah, negative. You just add a negative in there. So A plus negative A will always equal 0. The principle is if you add any number to its opposite, you should always get 0. So there they are. So in case there was any confusion about that, that's one more time to see it. Hopefully it'll stick pretty well for you. Things like the real number sets, things like these properties of addition. When you think about your quiz 1 week from today, these are things you want to be very good at. You want to understand these concepts. We'll be using these when we solve equations in chapter 2. All right, so let's head to the board and see how you do with a lot of this stuff. We'll finish up here.